Greetings, fellow humans. Bat Mark here with another transmission from Metre Keyboards, and today we're taking a look at quite an interesting keyboard. I started out on a lot of the E-Yooso boards. Besides Red Dragon, I bought, because E-Yooso has the Z11, which I believe it still sells, 60%, more of a floating key design, but had the single light version that would go on sale for as little as like $7.99. I know I bought one, and the RGB version that I was able to get a couple of them for, I think, I want to say $12 or $13.99 off of Amazon. So I literally have at least a dozen E-Yooso boards, if not more. Not only the 60%, but a couple of their other ones that they put out. And for the price and for what I was able to do with them, I was quite happy. Now, granted, the majority of them were Otemu type sleeves, so I could only use certain switches, but I could use Akos. All the older Akko switches worked just fine in there, the CS series, and I had a lot of fun modding them. I learned a lot about keyboards because of E-Yooso. Anyway, long story short, I hadn't seen anything as of late from E-Yooso, and I'd never reached out to the company. And I did a little bit of digging, and I was actually able to find their website, and I sent an email out, and they were gracious enough to respond to me, and I told them how much I enjoyed E-Yooso, sent them a few links of some of some of the mods I've done on their keyboards, and they were like, would you be interested in checking out our newest HE keyboard? And I was like, yeah. And this is the HZ61, so keeping in with that Z, because I know they had the C686, the Z11, the C33 Scholar, a few other ones. But like I said, I have at least a dozen of them. So when they offered me the chance to take a look at their HE keyboard, which will also be included in a tier list video that I'll be working on. Right now I'm working on a 75% aluminum tier list video, but I figured out about 4 or 5 other tier list videos that I'm going to work on. This one's going to be coming probably after the 65% aluminum keyboard video. So anyway, there are a lot of magnetic HE keyboards right now out there, and a lot of people are just wondering which one should I get, and that's a good question. I have been, with the help of my son, been getting a little bit more into gaming, and I'm going to, when I do the tier list video, do all of these keyboards head to head in the same video game, and to see, you know, even though I'm not the best of players, to see if anyone keyboard either gives me an edge or actually is an impairment, because I don't know. I get why these keyboards could give some players an edge, and I kind of just want to see for every once in a while player, will it give me an edge, or will it actually be something that gets in my way? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm thankful to E-Yooso for sending me out a keyboard, and I'm excited to take a look at what we've got, because this is probably going to be one of the most affordable, if not the most affordable, on my Hall Effect tier list video. And I mean, I have E-Yooso boards that I bought during the pandemic, and they still work just fine. I mean, they're affordable, and they're built like tanks. I mean, seriously, you're not going to pop off a hot socket on it, because, well, they are Otemu. So yes, only certain switches you can use, but there's plenty of good switches you can use, and I've gotten quite a few of these to sound excellent. I mean, to where people are like, oh, is that like a $200 keyboard? I'm like, it's not even like a quarter of that price, throwing in switches and keycaps and mod materials. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So it looks like we have from a 0.2 of a millimeter all the way up to 4 millimeters as to rapid trigger. Rapid trigger is the ability, you know, if you just want to literally just spam that button, you can, you know, you don't have to press it all the way down. You can literally say, I want it at 0.2 of a millimeter. So that's barely a press. That's almost, I mean, if you have a light enough spring, you could probably blow and get that 0.2 of a millimeter from the switch. I don't know if that's real. I'm just kind of just giving an idea of how light that could be. So you could literally just sit there and tap on the key and just go crazy and get, you know, a lot more presses than you would if you went. Now, you're just shaving, you know, a few microseconds, a few tenths of a second. I don't know. But again, that's why I'm getting a little bit more into it, so I can provide a better report back on these keyboards when I do the tier list video. Anyway, let's go ahead and see what the HZ61 Hall Effect magnetic keyboard from Newfie. So let's see what the HZ61 Hall Effect magnetic keyboard from E-Yooso has to offer. All right, before taking a look at the keyboard, I always like to take a look at what's in the box first. So we have a user manual that tells us all of the shortcuts and how to get to the keys that are not on the keyboard. You know, so that's more for those people who are like, how can you use a 60%? Layers. Layers is the name of the game. All right, this seems pretty comprehensive. We also have a little baggie here. We have a standard wire switch and keycap puller. We have a couple of extra switches, which is very appreciated. I recently reviewed another HE keyboard that did not include any spare switches, and I really think that it should. I mean, that was bigger than this one, and it had no switches. This one is a 60% and has 2 spare switches. You never know what could go wrong. These are some nice, about red weight linears. Let me see, are they branded? Oh, okay. I'd heard about these. These are the first chance I've gotten to take a look at. These are the Otemu magnetic switches, and I gotta say, Otemu, GOAT, they have really been putting out some really nice switches. I gotta say, I've been enjoying a lot of them, and they keep surprising me. But we have basically a red weighted linear switch that doesn't have much of a bottom out at all. It's definitely not harsh. It's not loud. And we also have a USB-A to USB-C. And here we are with the E-Yooso HZ61 Hall Effect keyboard. And I gotta say, I like it, but I mean, it basically is the Z11, but updated. We've got that nice badge there. I actually kind of like that. It's sharp. I mean, it is a sticker that I could pull off, but I'm gonna leave it on there for right now. It is literally the same body that the Z11s have. They have one set of kick out feet. Actually does not sound that bad. I've modded so many of the Z11s, the ones within the same body, that I know how I can make this sound good. I mean, it sounds pretty good stock, surprisingly enough, being that it is, if I'm not mistaken, a steel plate. Yep, we have a steel plate, and there might be some sort of dampening in there because it definitely has a little bit more weight than the regular Z11s do. Now, this is, yeah, it's a wired only, so we don't have a battery in there, but we've got it pretty, I mean, there is no flex whatsoever to this keyboard. Now, for keycaps, it looks like we have, oh, is that an ASA profile? If I had to guess, I would say these are SA, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look it up when we get to the spec section. So right now, let's take a look at these keycaps. Wow, nicely double shot, what feels like PBT. Wow, these come measuring in at 1.7 millimeters. Whoa, that's a thick keycap. That's part of the reason why it sounds so, not only because of the tallness of them, but because they're nice and thick. It's already giving a very good stock sound. Honestly, I can't wait to mod this now because I know exactly what to do to make these keyboards just sing. So we have plate mounted stabilizers. If I know what is underneath there, I mean, I know it's a different PCB, but there's not going to be any screw-in stabilizer support. Nope. Taking a look at the stabilizers, they are very well lubricated on both the inside of the wire and on the elbow, which those are the two most important parts to lubricate, in my opinion, because that's where most of the friction and the action is going to be going on. Now, there is some looseness to these, but that's nothing that we can't fix. This is definitely going to be one of the first HE magnetic keyboards that I mod, because I have a place in my heart for E-Yooso, so. So we have what looks to be almost like a Dolce kind of colorway, although it's not really. I love the fact that we have the curved tops, and I really want to say this is ASA, or at least one of the SA profiles. It could be MSA. But we have those nice big legends. We have the sub-legends at the top. I don't like them at the side, and sometimes when they do the big legends, for some reason, they put them side by side. We have nice full 1 1/4 modifiers on both sides of the space bar. And we just have a nice looking kit from the side. I mean, yes, the connector is on the side, but like I said, some people it might be an issue. I don't really think it's an issue for me. But like I said, we have more weight, so I'm honestly curious to get in there. For right now, we're just gonna leave it stock. We're looking at what I think is one of the better looking 60% HE keyboards that I've reviewed anyway. And it's probably, like I said, it's probably one of the most affordable ones that's out there right now. I mean, there's some HE keyboards going for, I mean, just way too much for what they have. I mean, what they offer or what they don't offer. But for right now, I've noticed that for the most part, they're just kind of focusing on game, and there is no there's no real push for getting them to sound good, or at least, like I said, the ones I've reviewed, there's many of them out there, I know. But even from the sound tests that I hear, and some of them, you know, there isn't even a sound test. It's like, oh, okay, is it that bad? There's no sound test? But so I think that eventually we'll get into the spot where we will have better sounding HE keyboard stock. But for right now, it's kind of like we've reset and gone back to the beginning of mechanical keyboards. Who am I to say? But out of the ones I've reviewed so far, this one is one of the preferable stock sound that I have heard so far. I love the keycaps. I love the setup. I love the look. I like I said, I love this design, the floating key design. And it's, now the ones I have are all black. No, I have black and white. Yeah, I have black and white bodies, but I don't have any that have this gray color. But it works perfectly with the keycaps, the legends, the whole thing. It just, I really like it. And we've got the Otemu, like I said, they're reds, so they're not heavy at all. I would guess them at about 45 grams, like most reds are, even though they have these have the dust-proof stem. But this is probably one of the nicer stock E-Yooso boards that I've seen. I really like it. Just the specs. Today we are taking a look at the E-Yooso Hz61, a 60% wired HE floating key design keyboard. It has a north-facing hot swap Hall effect PCB. There is no dampening inside of the case or between the plate and PCB. It has a SA family profile double shot PBT keycaps in the Dolce-like colorway, though it does say XDA on the listing. They are preloaded with Otemu dust-proof red stem linear magnetic HE switches, and also include 2 extra in the box. This keyboard comes weighing in at 570 grams. The chin of this keyboard sits at 13.5 millimeters off of the typing surface, while the back sits at 19 millimeters, providing for a default typing angle of 5 degrees. Flipping out the only set of fold-out feet will take the back height to 26 millimeters and change your angle of typing to 10 degrees. The MSRP for this keyboard is $43.99. Links below. So obviously this is the RGB variant. I don't think there is a single color LED variant. It does have a caps lock indicator light like all the rest of the Z11s do. It is $43. That's the cheapest that I've seen for an HE keyboard as of yet. If all you require is 60%, or you can use the 60% and map other keys, the feature set seems to be pretty good. And I'm going to take a look at the software here in a second. But it says that you can map up to 4 different actions to a single keystroke, depending on if you tap, if you press and hold. So that seems pretty interesting, and something that could actually even be used for like doing sysadmin work or stuff like that, depending, you know, if you want to trigger a macro or something like that. So we'll have to take a look at the software. We'll get into that shortly. Anyway, one thing that I did want to mention, it says XDA keycaps on the website, but these are not uniform. They're sculpted. So they, to me, look like they're in the SA family, whether ASA or MSA, or I believe there's a CSA. There's a couple of SA families, and I think that's where these keycaps fall into. They're definitely taller and they're sculpted. So they're definitely not XDA in my opinion. So I'm gonna let them know and see if they can correct it. But I gotta say, this right here is, I have to get my bias out of the way because, yes, like I said, I have quite a number of their keyboards. They were very inexpensive. They took, you know, me modding when I was learning to mod, and now let's see if this will work. Everything from pennies to silicone to tape to this to that, and they just kept working, and they still work. So, I mean, most of the times you get what you pay for is truly, you know, something applicable, but it's not 100% of the time. There are times like this where you can find a brand like E-Yooso and get keyboards that are quite affordable that are actually enjoyable. Now, I know this is a tray mount, and I'm not one much for tray mounts. I prefer gasket mount, but if this is what I'm going to be using for gaming, then I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, because obviously gaming, well, you know, it may be a few keystrokes on there. It's nothing like if I'm coding. I mean, I've gone through days where I've, you know, gone on a marathon, and it's like, all right, several hundred lines of code written today, or 1,000 lines of code written today. I'm taking a break, and you know, I don't know how that compares to keystrokes, but I would think that's probably more. All right, so for the software, I searched Google for E-Yooso HZ61 driver, and I basically got the unsecure version of the site, but I was able to just change HTTP to HTTPS, and boom, that was fine. Because if you try to download over HTTP, Chrome will complain. So it was a bit of a slow download, just so that you know. And all right, so once the download completes, we have the executable. Windows will want to not run it, but my network antivirus nor the antivirus on that Windows PC gave any warning, so there should be no issue. Now, at this point, I actually realized I didn't have it connected. So, really quick, plugged it in, and we get what I thought was it took me a little bit to kind of understand what was going on, but it's pretty comprehensive. If I had been on the development team, I would have added just a few little user interface tweaks, but that's just me. It does have a function layer, and it does have profiles. It does have certain keys, though, on the function layer that will not allow you to change. They're locked because they have specific purposes already for the keyboard, so that you don't lose that functionality, and those keys that are already mapped, you cannot remap them on the function layer. Now, you can bring up a keyboard when you want to remap just a regular key to another key, or to a key that doesn't exist already or isn't already mapped. Or, I mean, you want to map to a different key, that's fine as well. Then you have the trigger setting. Now, as you can see, all right, for senior keys, you've got to set them up first, which is in this different screen. The key combination, you can map a key to a key combination. You can map it to actual mouse or text. You can literally just, instead of a macro, you can just actually enter some text automatically, send it to the computer. You can do multimedia, and you can do shortcuts. Everything from locking the computer to paste, copy, cut, save, close window, find, print. Or you can map a key directly to an application, which I think is pretty cool. You can also map the functionality of the RGB on the keyboard itself, which I think is pretty neat on its own. You can also set up lock and unlock of the Windows key as well as the lock keyboard. So you can set it up for the most part the way that you would like it, because you can modify the top layer much more than the actual function there. So then you come to the part where we have the speciality of what this keyboard offers, the magnetic or the Hall effect. We have quick trigger, which if we don't use journey of pressing and releasing, we can actually set the trigger release point. So say we want the quick trigger to hit at 5/10, we can set our trigger or our release at 7/10 of a millimeter. Now, in order to do this, we do need to select all of the keys, set the quick trigger. Now, to set all of the keys to the same calibration, you do have to select all of the keys individually to set all calibration to the same. And then you can set the quick trigger to say 0.2 millimeters and the reset or the release at 0.5 millimeters. We apply, and then we want to do calibration. To do calibration, if you hit the all key calibration, it's going to expect for you to go starting at the escape key, going down all the way, just like a snake going down the keyboard. Press every single key to press all the way down. So you want to make sure that you bottom out. And as you'll see, yellow squares will pop up and will let you know that it's calibrated. It knows position of that switch. It knows, I mean, we've already set the quick trigger, but it's going to be able to properly read it. And when it says that success, we're all good. All right, so for the senior keys, we have DKS, which is the key can achieve 4 functions. 1 to 4 functions can be bound according to 4 different processing degrees. MT, the key, have 2 functions. Holding down the key is one type. Clicking the key is one type. TGL, click this key to switch continuous triggering on or off. Think I got the hang of that. So we can basically set them to single keys or to actual key combinations for how we'd like these to trigger. In order to add a senior key, we hit create, and then we do that mapping. Either we do it to a single key or to a key combination. As we can see, it's TGL. Depending on what you have selected when you hit create, that's how you can change between those modes. So after taking a look at those we see that we have the RGB. And here I selected a single color, but it does have numerous effects in there. But I selected a color that I think makes the legends pop quite nicely. But it does have the ability to do per key RGB. And then we go to keyboard properties. We can disable the Windows keys, disable, looks like it's already selected by default. We have keyboard properties. It will take us to the system keyboard property settings. We have a macro editor. That's actually a fairly decent macro editor where we can add new macros, organize them, can have delays, we can record what we need, we can go back and edit, we can insert events in between, we can pretty much build the macros that we need to, and it does allow us to also download the configurations. There's one thing I want to say, besides like using VIA, this is the first keyboard software that I can think of that actually has a maximize button. It actually allows me to maximize the application and make it full screen, which I quite appreciate. So I've got to say, I really like this 60%. It has, again, I'm a little bit biased to E-Yooso because I've built so many of them, I have so many of them, but like I said, for the price, for what you get, that software is actually pretty complete. I mean, it offers a lot of functionality, a lot of settings, a lot of things that you can do. I think from what I see, it offers on par, if not a little bit better of an interface as far as HE keyboards are concerned from what I've seen. And for the price and knowing that this keyboard should last, I mean, my other ones, like I said, I've got some that are years old that still work like the day I got them. And even though I've modded them, opened them up, done all sorts of stuff to them, they just keep on ticking. All of my kids have had one at one point or another. They're workhorses. So like I said, I have a certain fondness for it, but I am not disappointed with the way that not only does this keyboard sound pretty good, even though I know it's pretty bare bone, but between the switches and the way that it's designed, I know that I can make it sound really nice. And almost tempted, but that's for when I mod it. I'll bring out one of the ones I've already modded, so just to give you an idea what we can do, and then we'll go through and we'll mod it. But because I want to do the tier list video for the HE keyboards, I want to keep it stock for right now. You want an HE keyboard, you don't want to break the bank. You want something that has control over all the keys. You want per key RGB, multiple ways to trigger, hold for play. I will say that this E-Yooso Hz61 Hall Effect keyboard has actually earned a place with me because it's really nice and it's a form factor that I already know and like. So it's something that I don't know. It's in one way nostalgic, but the other way it's new. So, but because I mean, I don't think I ever downloaded software for any of the E-Yooso keyboards. I just used them as they were. I knew what the arrow keys were basically, and the page up, page down, I believe. I'd have to look at it. It's been a while since I've used it as my daily, I will say that. But I am going to go through and test drive each and every one of these Hall Effect keyboards, see how much I can do. I want to make sure things save on the keyboards as far as setting goes, because I'll do it on Windows and then test stuff out on my Linux machine, because that's usually the most powerful one in the house besides servers. There's Xeon servers, but whatever. Anyway, I see that E-Yooso has a couple of other HE keyboards and a couple of other keyboards I actually didn't even know about, and I hope I'll get a chance to take a look at them as well. But for right now, I'm going to leave you guys with a stock sound test of the E-Yooso Hz61, which is a magnetic Hall effect HE keyboard, and has, like we've seen, very comprehensive software. I do hope that you enjoyed the review. If you have any questions, any comments, if there's anything you'd like to see me cover either during the tier list video or during the mod video, just let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to leave you guys with a stock sound test. I want to wish everybody out there in YouTube land a wonderful rest of your day. And until the next transmission, keep calm and keyboard on.